So, good afternoon. Before sharing this fondue together, we will share some talks with you about decoupled GraphQL. So, how many persons are doing decoupling here in the room? Yeah. How many persons are using GraphQL? Yeah, a few. And how many of you are using Gutenberg? So yeah, we will not actually talk too much about Gutenberg, but more about an approach of how to move from one solution to another. So this is why this talk is called about communication and change. And I think it resonates a bit with what Christina mentioned a while ago. It's currently there is no opinion about the Drupal CMS to go for one solution or another. We don't want to use to promote paragraphs, or we don't want to promote layer builder, because we want to be able to take the thing that is just working for us. So Atomizy by default our distribution is using Gutenberg. So this is what works for us. It's very opinionated, but yeah, we will elaborate a bit about how we are dealing with this communication between systems, people, but also you can see it, and also how we can deal with change, because yeah, we just expect change.
Okay. Is this on? Yeah. So, hi, I'm Dan Lemon. I think some people know me. I am originally from UK, apparently. Yes, and based in Switzerland, in Zurich. I enjoy snowboarding, hiking, kite surfing, trail running.
Yeah, and I shamelessly copied the slide from Dan. So yeah, I'm coming from Belgium, but yeah, I've also in Switzerland for 2 years now, based in Lausanne, in western part of the country. And basically what I like is just mountains, and especially dogs. And yeah, this is our favorite spot. It's in Canton Valais. Yeah, perhaps some of you know this place. It's called Belatola, but it's absolutely fantastic. So, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay.
So, so we both of us work for Easy Labs, as you can tell. It's digital experiences, tailored solutions, strong commitment to open source, building solutions from ideation and design to integration, optimization, and maintenance. That's good. So today's topics, we will start to elaborate what is change and communication for developers, then go through the history of Drupal development in 3 steps. Drupal as a monolith, the emergence of style guides, and decoupling. So we can explore the problems that we want to solve. They go through 2 different use cases.
So yeah, I think we all know this sentence from good old Heraclitus: the only constant in life is change. So yeah, still some technical issues. Oh, okay, it's better. So yeah, I think we're great. So yeah, it's what keeps us alive. And yeah, for the front end, yeah, I think it's such a moving part. It can be Gatsby. Gatsby is has a bit of lack of maintenance nowadays. It can be Next, Waku, Next, Remix, Astro, and yeah, whatnot. So for the backend, it's a bit the same scenario. We have WordPress. We could have Decoupled, Sanity, Prismic, Contentful, Tina CMS. Yeah, and for sure Drupal, or perhaps in the same project several of these ones. It's not unusual to have a WordPress blog that needs to be sourced among a Drupal website. So yeah, this is the current state of the market. So as we are in a Drupal event, yeah, what is changed in Drupal? So it can be Drupal editorial solutions, which is CK Editor 5, layered builder, paragraphs or even layout paragraphs, experience builder, Blockly, as we saw this morning, Gutenberg, the thing that we are using or just yeah, others. I think I forgot some, but yeah, there are others out there. So what we'll just take the opportunity to talk about the change of the editor system in Drupal from paragraphs to Gutenberg in that case, because we just need to have some concrete example.
Cool. So first up, we need a plan. What are some things that are more resilient to change, like the business rules, content model, branding style guide? And our goal is to make the moving parts more sustainable and independent. We will focus on domain-driven design, and for this, GraphQL is awesome. Kind of opinionated, but communication. Yeah. So good communication makes our tools and the human that are using them happy. UML provides a nice concept for us, with the actors as the users and systems, the users as frontender, backender, designer, editor, systems such as Drupal, Storybook. Our goal is what facilitates communication between these actors. So, a little history. Let's dive into Drupal development journey. This is our Drupal development journey at Mazy Labs at least. So part one, the monolithic days back in the old times. 2006 something. Actors as frontenders, backend, and Drupal. And the backender creates a content type, frontender has to wait. Backender creates another content type and some controllers, blocks of views, frontender still waits. And then eventually the backender creates some basic template overrides so that the frontender can finally start. That's how we used to work. It was not really so good, because the good communication can reduce the back and forth dance. But what we ended up was frontender should talk the same language, and the frontender had to know a lot of like Drupisms, was entity.path, or what is a preprocess, what about the performance, and so on. Didn't really help. So the backender was usually the bottleneck. Drupal knowledge is a must. Process was a bit slow. So is this resilient to change? Not really. Everything is very tightly coupled. There's no warning if something breaks, like render array, or like there's no typing, and we like TypeScript for that reason. Code is harder to maintain in the long run, and maintainability is heavily depending on non-standardized structure. Cool. So, two style guides to the rescue. We tried out Fractal for one project, then we tried out Pattern Lab for 2 projects, and then we aligned on Storybook for pretty much all of our projects after this. The team became a bit more independent, but it was not always great for forms, for the Ajax API, for like commerce and so on. When we started, we still had a lot of like overrides and boilerplate code. Still no like typing. And yeah, nowadays we do have things like SDC, single directory components, which is kind of good, but we kind of landed on something more modern, so we're not going to use that, at least in the new projects. And from this solution with style guides, the backender became a bit less of a bottleneck, but we still didn't have typing. There was a bit better like isolation, but it was still tightly coupled. So now we get to part 3. Christoph?
Just out of curiosity, does it resonate with your own experience, this part 1 and part 2? Yes, a bit. So, yeah, let's see with part 3 with Decoupled. So, we saw that with part 2 we had just a few more actors, because basically we have Drupal and Storybook. But with Decoupling we have still the frontender, the backender, Drupal, Storybook. But then we have on top Decoupled site, perhaps it's statically generated. We have a preview app, perhaps we have a watch app and whatnot. So yeah, I think we really need a plan because these parts start to be a bit more elaborated. So Just to go back to the problems to solve, we need to reduce the bottleneck between the developers, to facilitate the communication between systems, make systems more resilient to change, remove redundancy and type safety, and also improve DX. So if we can have a good DX on top of that, I think it's quite challenging. So first take, we tried the JSON API. So it's available in core. That's why we favored it. So and it exposes everything, but with just JSON API, we can remove what we want to expose. For image style, we can use consumer image styles. And yeah, there are several modules to install, but basically it works. So about communication, yeah, the frontender still needs to know about the Drupal structure. So what's an entity, what is an image style. So I think anti-reference are not so intuitive to consume. I think it leads very quickly to overfetching or underfetching. So let's say we take the example of I want to get a list of taxonomy terms. So I will go this endpoint, but I want to have the Drupal nodes with these taxonomy terms. Then I will overfetch in that case. So, but perhaps I just need the title and the term names, and then I will get everything. So, is it resilient to change? So it's still bound to the Drupal structure, so not so resilient. And we can find a solution with types in schema if we want typing on our frontend with solutions like the. So Decoupled is just GraphQL, and we still have a few options. First one is to write your own schema, or we can use GraphQL Compose. That is done by Octa Edroit. I think I pronounced it correctly. Or we can use GraphQL Core Schema by our friends from Leap. And a third solution, the one that we talked about, is directives, and then it's basically write your own declarative schema. So it's writing the schema without the hassle of defining all the resolvers. So we did a small blog about that, about a very in-depth comparison about these 4 solutions. If you are interested, we will post the slides later. So why the GraphQL directive? So we want the declarative schema, and how did we get there? So we need to go back to the history of GraphQL. So GraphQL 3 was basically providing all the schema out of the box. So you just install it, it works. You have all your GraphQL queries. Yeah, it's still reflected like JSON API, the anti-relationship structure that we have. So basically, we retrieve the same thing that JSON API, but in GraphQL. It was still tight. That was the main benefit of using GraphQL. And also, you don't need to run complex queries like several calls or like endpoints. If you need to have a node with taxonomy terms, you will get it in one single query. So GraphQL 4 will require to write all the resolvers manually. It was a significant change. I think it's just the same change as Drupal 7 and Drupal 8. It's a complete rewrite. So just to show what an example resolver is, so you want a page with an ID, a title, and an author name. So very basic information. What you need to do is to write your own resolver like that. So you need to map to data producers. Data producers are already doing the heavy lifting for you, but then it's still a lot of work. You can imagine this is only about 3 fields. So imagine some fields you need to expose perhaps several content types, and then you can write some smarter PHP code that will perhaps use Clojure, or you can reduce this amount of code, but it will still be a lot. So yeah. This is what's leading us to directive. So a directive is just like a wrapper around the code, the PHP code that you saw just in the previous slide, and each field can be mapped to a directive. So we have a few built-in directives provided by the module that we'll mention after, and custom directives can just be provided as a plugin or a Drupal service. This is a recent evolution of the module that we released. You can wrap it as a service, and I think it's a much more GraphQL agnostic approach, because the service can be basically reused for anything else, like a lead editor or anything. So a plugin is tightly bound to a plugin manager, so yeah, it's not very open. And yeah, each field can still use custom resolver, so you don't need to use. You can declare your own custom schema, but you can still have the very procedural way to do it and not the declarative way. So the two things can be mixed together. And also we limit what we want to expose and also how we want to expose, and I think the how is the important things in that case. Yeah, the module is available on packages currently, so we will post it on Drupal.org a bit later. But just say we are not inventing something. It's a GraphQL specification, and also it's used by the GraphQL OAuth module that is using this directive just to check the status of the user and so on. So, how does it look like? We have roughly the same things. We added a few more fields just for example. But if we want to resolve the ID, we will just resolve the entity ID or resolve entity UUID depending on how we want to work. And for the title, this is following basically what Drupal is doing with entity reference. We can just change by path. So in this case, we want title, we will just get title value with the add result property directive. For the language, locale is basically a GraphQL add-in that will release the languages that are available on your system, and we will get the resolve entity language. But it will be typed as a language in that case. For translations, we will get an array of page, so it's basically the same Drupal structure as well. So when you call for a node without any language specifics, you get the node itself, and yet then you can get the translations and also exclude perhaps the origin, the source. For the path, we have a special directive that is called resolve entity path, and the meta tags, as it's a Drupal field, we can resolve it as a property, and then there is some extra typing that is done that is not explained in this slide, but it's just for the sake of clarity. So, as everything is basically a field in GraphQL, we have how do we get a field? In that case, we thought that the simplest way just to and most front-end agnostic way to get the data for a page is just to use the root, because path is what Drupal delivers you out of the box. You can use path alias or not. You can still use the node/id or use the path alias with the language. It will just work, and the front-end doesn't need to know anything about the Drupal logic. And we can change directives, so in that case, view page will use the path as an argument. We'll return a page type. Then we will change it with the root that will get the path as the variable. And then finally load the entity, which is another directive. Just to get that result without the directives, I think you need to write a lot of code. And it's the same for preview page. So if you have a preview app, which is not uncommon for Decoupled setup, in general in Decoupled setup you have the statically generated website that is sourcing via plugin. It can be Nux, like what Lee mentioned a while ago. It can be Gatsby, or it can be another source plugin. We don't need to know about that. It will still work for any kind of source plugin. But then for the preview page, in general, you have another problem. You need to load the latest revision, or at least use the access content, the content access. So from the node, and then we will just let Drupal negotiate with the permissions with the preview page. The only thing that we need to pass is the ID, which could even be optional if we use the revision ID. But we decided to make the ID mandatory in that case. It's your schema, so you just define it however you like it. But in that case, we just thought that if we pass the ID, we will get the latest revision. If we pass an extra specific revision ID, we'll get that one. and then we can pass the language as the other mandatory parameter. And then we just change that just as above on with a load entity revision directive. So I think we can just compare it with the Drupal entity API. It looks quite familiar. Even if you don't know GraphQL, I think it's just basically the same. So if we just check the status after this, the communication. So is it Drupal agnostic? Yes, I think so. So the frontender doesn't need to know about the Drupal structure, and I think it's a big deal because previously we had to hire Drupal experts. Now we can just hire Javascript experts or React ones, and yeah, finding this combination of skills, having the React expert and the Drupal one, it's a really rare one on the market. But if you want to expand your team, I think you're in a much better position if you just expose this. So the other thing is that you have domain-driven design, and yeah, it's not what the data structure is. So domain-driven design means that you can even use that as an AC on a ticket. Even the project owner will understand what the data structure. You don't need to just expose things that are very specifics. And it's also used on the front end. This kind of schema, we extended it so it can be reused as is by the source plugin, but also by systems like Gatsby is doing. You can load from data store, and with an internal GraphQL API, and you just use the same queries, so it will work basically everywhere. I think it makes me think a bit like the universal root. It is the same concept. At some point in the early stages of Decoupling, we were talking about universal roots. I think it's mostly the universal query system, so it will work end-to-end. Resilient change. Yes, if the package changes, it's transparent for the client, so the frontend does not need to know what it's behind. We can switch it with a WordPress, which we won't do, but yeah, it's something that we could. If GraphQL is used with TypeScript, then we have strong typing and auto-completion everywhere. So I think in that case, we just need the developer experience topic that we talked about. And yeah, the IDE can get most of the type statically, which is a great time saver just to prevent debug at runtime. And the CI can get basically the other issues, because if you have a good CI that validates all the types, then it will just throw an error quite early, and then you know that you need to fix something. So yeah, I think a picture is nice, just to get a very idea of how this works. So we have the Drupal backend at the bottom that will feed the GraphQL schema. So we use the directives in that case. Then we can use CodeGen to generate the TypeScript types. That will be used by the UI package. And then we see that the preview app on the Decoupled website and the potential watch app or whatever is just consuming directly the GraphQL schema. But actually they mostly don't know about how to fetch things. The logic is encapsulated in the UI package. So it means, and this is a big deal because it means that on your Decoupled website, you just decide tomorrow to rewrite everything with Astro because this is the new cool thing. You just need to change the Astro wrappers. Let's say you used Gatsby before. Gatsby has basically no logic at all from the querying and the display. And to us, this is what costs really money, is just to develop these components. And if you need to change these components every time there is a new JavaScript framework out there, I think it becomes quite pricey. Or you are just vendor locked in, and yeah, you can just move out from that quite easily. And it's hard to justify to the client that, perhaps there is a new JavaScript framework. It solves a bunch of problems, but do we want to invest into some upcycling? I guess not. So, yeah, you need to come with very good arguments to sell that to your client. So if we just take a more concrete example about what we want to display with the view page. So there, if we just edit the page, so we have it's our demo website.
Those are the three examples. And then the final piece
as we still mention Gutenberg in the title, we thought we need to show you a bit of Gutenberg.
Schedule them. And then
so we took the accordion example. So there we have a few Gutenberg blocks, and then we have an accordion. So if we click there, we have if we click on the first accordion, the main one, we have some heading level on the right that can be configured. Then on the accordion item, we have some other parameters that can be selected, and that's basically just to give an idea about what we want to expose to the API. It doesn't really matter if it's an accordion or not. It's just for the sake of the example. Oh yeah, and then we can perhaps show the instant preview. If you click on the preview,
what I did, I just created a Drupal module for that.
So if we change a value in this in the block, it will be reflected automatically on the view. Yeah, this is because we are basically using the same query system for everything. Preview is a dedicated app that is written in mostly vanilla React, and the front end is Decoupled statically side. So these two apps don't know anything about each other, but the only thing is that they are sharing the same UI components, and this is how we can achieve this. So it means that tomorrow we want to use another website, it will still work.
Process the message, do some stuff, and reply.
You can go back to that one. And how we are getting content from there. So in the view page, we are just passing the path, the title, the content, and then we just use. We can use fragments in that case, but we just put everything all together, and then we get the heading level, the items. For the block accordion item text, we get the icon and the title. And I don't know about you, but I find it's very expressive and very understandable, and without it's not cluttered, just readable. You can just run it. This is how it looks in GraphQL. And the thing is that you have all your schema and all your types available like this. But this is very common to any kind of flavor of the GraphQL modules that you are using. No matter what you are using, the four solution that we mentioned at the beginning when talking about GraphQL. Yes.
Whatever the process learns, I'm going to output or going to save inside the token. That's nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly, yes. What were you? Yes, we are using a parser for that, which is provided by the Gutenberg module itself. And we are wrapping this into resolvers. and these resolvers are wrapped themselves into directives. So we have a full abstraction for that, and the developer does not need to worry about how to consume things. We just need to use the directive. Yes. Yes, but in that case we'll be strongly bound to Gutenberg again, because then we just reflect the HTML structure that Gutenberg is providing for us, and this is exactly what we want to escape from, just to be vendor-opting to something. So, oh yeah, we have some instant shareable preview that can be used with that system. If we modify the node, yeah, but perhaps it's a bit off topic, but yeah, we are as we can have the instant preview there. We just wrote some access token that will be generated on the fly, so anonymous users can use the preview as well. It's nice just to share with colleagues for validation, for approval, and then perhaps you don't need to use too many content moderation states or involve too many people or email or things like that. You just ping someone on Slack, then you check the content is good, and then you save and push.
That's pretty nice, and that's basically actually what I just wanted to achieve. Very simple, very few integrations, very simple couple of models, and then that's for the MVP part. Let's think about where we can improve or what we can do to improve. The first thing that I want to switch out is not only the forecast,
should be zero
the company, also want to use forecast and solar. That's a European one, but it didn't have the same integration or API capabilities as this one. Basically, I'm going to reuse the same models. Also, with the data is.
So, we have this system, and we talk about how we're extracting things from Gutenberg. So the use case is how can we migrate from paragraphs to Gutenberg. So the first question is, why should we do that? Well, so I will ask another question to answer that one. Is when to use paragraphs, Gutenberg, CKD, or just Drupal fields. So yeah, it really depends. Sometimes we are just using the tree in the same system, just because it's what we need. So CKD45 can be used for list content, no detail page, the typical page that you are using with rabbit hole. So you just need a teaser like news or events that you want to list on the website, but it's very thin content. For SEO reason, we don't want to expose that. For fields, yeah, I think meta tags we want to rewrite that in Gutenberg. That doesn't make sense. So entity reference, we have a very good Drupal integration for that. Let's say that we want to use assets on the front end. Yeah, non-translatable fields is also something that we don't want to use in Gutenberg, because yeah, these Gutenberg by default is asymmetric translations, so which is the main difference with paragraphs. Paragraphs is by default symmetric. We can use modules like asymmetric, but that's also often. So paragraphs can be, it's the same use case as fields, but if we want to have compound fields, so little fields that we want to repeat. And for Gutenberg, our rule of thumb is just to say that any visual or structural content like columns, accordion, media, image, the things that we are just viewing on the front end, we use Gutenberg for that. And yeah, that's basically our rule of thumb that we are following. So when Gutenberg compared to paragraphs, so about the editorial experience, if we start to have a very long list of paragraphs, like 50 paragraphs on the same page, that becomes hard to handle with drag and drop, or it's just on to load, then we favor Gutenberg because it's fast, even for very long-term results. For database load, yeah, paragraphs can take more space in the database. It really depends as well as on about how you are using it. If you are using it to define layer structure, then it will take some space. If it's for regular fields with entity reference, that's another story. And then if you add on top of multilingual content plus content moderation, you end up with a lot of revisions, which takes a lot of space in the database. And there are several solutions for that, which is auth and entity purge, or node revision delete. These modules are working perfectly well, but it's also extra configuration. If you want to favor some more visual editing experience, then perhaps Gutenberg is the good solution, because it offers you a very lightweight representation in the database, which is basically just markup. So I think we are there with the, yeah, I think it's a bit small, but yeah, you get the idea. You have some paragraphs. It's the accordions that we saw a while ago, but in paragraphs. So with the heading level, the title, and some text, and another accordion item there. And so with these two directives, and the directive for the heading level is just resolve property. We can use that one because it's an anti-field in paragraphs. For the items, for the special directives, which is resolve anti-reference revision, where we pass the field pass. And then for the title, icon and text content, yeah, it's the same resolve property. So then starts the work for the front end with the fragments for the accordion. So this is what the front end is basically using in the UI. So we write our story like that. We import some things from our schema. We import the accordion component that I will show in a bit. And then we set some mock data for the story, which is fully typed in that case, so the developer will have auto-completion. And then in the story component, we just we don't care about the markup here, but we just use the block accordion fragment from the schema, and then again it's fully typed. So yeah, we saw that the storyboard component is then used in the client apps, and we decide to move this editorial solution to Gutenberg. So this is what we saw a while ago. The only thing that we need to change is these directives. So we have resolve editors block attribute instead of the resolve property. Instead of the resolve anti-reference revisions, we have resolve block editor block children, which is the Gutenberg equivalent. And same for the accordion item text. And then for the Gutenberg block, just to give an idea about how it looks, we have the heading level, which is a Gutenberg attribute. And then we expose that through some Gutenberg components as select control. And the interesting part there is the inner blocks, which is the equivalent of nested paragraphs. And then in the inner blocks, we can, just like paragraphs, we can limit to what we want to expose. In that case, we just want accordion items, nothing else, from the Gutenberg block. For the Gutenberg accordion item block, in that case, yeah, we have, we just define the parent, the attributes, which is the title and icon. Then we want to expose with some rich text because we want to make it, evolve as markup if we want. And then again we have the inner blocks where we want to expose the paragraphs, list, or perhaps a custom heading, or everything that is needed for users. And that's basically it. I think we don't have the time to cover use case 2, which is what the idea is to show you how to expose the Star Wars API as a GraphQL schema, exactly the same way. But the only thing that we should mention here is that you need to write a lot of code we have this endpoint, then you need to have your schema, you need to infer when you fetch, so you validate your API output, and then you wrap this into an executor, then you can finally define your GraphQL schema, and then we will use some use operation hook. We won't talk about details here, but this is what we just avoid by exposing. So perhaps you should wonder, oh, should I just do the same with JSON API and type this JSON API with in schema? So do some adapter, and this is what it takes to write this adapter. So the directives are solving that problem, but on the Drupal level and not on the API level. And yeah, so yeah, the takeaways about that is that the problems that we covered today is that the developers are more intermittent. So anyone can start to work on a ticket, frontend or backender. It's not a usual atomicity that the frontender is just defined in the schema before the backender creates even the content type. So that's super nice. And the schema describes the domain only, so anyone is able to quickly understand it. So for the knowledge management, I think it's also a nice thing just to not start to explain that, oh, you need to plug this entity with that one, it has a relationship with this other one. And yeah, then you already lost someone. And the systems are more resilient to change, so the backend structure can change without altering anything else. You just need to adjust your schema, and everything else will work. And yeah, we have type safety for free, so it's generated in the schema with very small code configuration, and we just have PTRDX and automation everywhere, and no redundancy with includes like the one that we had when we worked with Twig.js and Storybook. It's still a valid system, but yeah, if we can avoid it to have bindings, that's another thing. So if you have questions, answers, I think you can just talk about that during the fondue or yeah.
Well, yeah. We have 4 minutes for questions. Any questions? I mean, one thing that came to mind is, okay, most of the schema seem to be agnostic, but still the directives they are tied to the backend. So
yeah,
at some point, it's my understanding that there will be a collaboration in the schema between front and backend.
Actually works without defining the directive. So the frontender can write the schema without setting the directive. It will still work in Storybook because it will be fully typed. And then the backender that has the Drupal knowledge can go after and inject the directives so it will work. So that's yeah. I think you still need a Drupal specialist to work on that. But yeah, it can also be someone that starts with Drupal and doesn't know how to write resolvers. As long as there is good documentation for the directives, it will work. So yeah, thanks for being here. It's the end of the day. It's very brave to be here. Yeah, you're outside and everything. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, also the system was invented by our lead engineer, Philippe Melep. So yeah, I just take the opportunity to send some love to him because yeah, personally I got it. Yes, this is fully open. It's on Packagist. So if you look for GraphQL directive on Packagist, you will get it.